Hi, everybody. Welcome to English Digest. I'm Tom.
And I'm Leah.
And today we're going to continue talking about making the world a quieter place. That is the quest of Gordon Hempton, whom we started talking about last time. And we're going to talk about him more specifically today as he identifies various quiet places in the world.
That's right, and we're going to see if he has success doing so and if maybe it also is something that can be found in Taiwan. Can a quiet place be found in Taiwan?
Actually, surprisingly, yes. He has listed one, and I did some research myself and found 3 places that he has listed on his website that can be considered very quiet places. Even more than Japan was listed. That's kind of surprising there, but that's what it's all about, and we'll talk about that in today's lesson. So let's get to it. Let's read through the entire contents of our lesson, and we'll be right back to discuss it. During his travels, Hempton came across what he thought was the quietest place in the U.S. No man-made noises could be heard. Hempton vowed to protect this place from noise pollution. However, before long, Navy airplanes started practicing in the skies above, and the quietest spot was quiet no more. With a feeling of bitterness still fresh in his mind, Hempton had a realization. Instead of trying to protect one small place, he should try to protect the whole world. In 2018, he used his expertise to launch Quiet Parks International, QPI, with the aim of identifying the purest natural soundscapes. To help protect these places, QPI encourages people to visit them to add economic leverage to its preservation efforts. So far, QPI has certified more than 250 exclusive spots as quiet places. For a place to become certified as a naturally quiet place, it must go through rigorous checks. QPI members study light pollution and airplane flight paths. When they find somewhere with potential, they use Google Earth to look for other possible man-made noise sources. Then, in collaboration with local communities and governments, QPI engineers are deployed to the location to conduct tests at each site accordingly. Last year, QPI awarded its first urban quiet park to Yangmingshan National Park. This came after a 2018 research project by the Soundscape Association of Taiwan. Recordings of sound characteristics and noise analyses were carried out across a number of areas around the park. The result of this set the stage for a commitment to the conservation of Yangmingshan's soundscape. Now, people can visit an abundance of special places within the park, like Menghuan Pond, to experience a beautiful and mind-nourishing quiet place. Hempton hopes that by certifying places in every country, QPI will enable people to find natural quiet.
Welcome back, everybody. Once again, we are talking about Gordon Hempton, and we're looking at his opportunities that he has looked for to find quiet places around the world. So we're going to delve right into the article today with the first sentence. It says, during his travels, Hempton came across what he thought was the quietest place in the U.S. So he stumbled on or he wandered into. I kind of doubt with Hempton that he didn't know where he was trying to get to, but that's what we're talking about here when you say came across, to come across something. Maybe you're looking for something in your attic and you're surprised when you come across a box of like old photographs, so you stumble on them and you find them.
Right, so while he was traveling, he found the thing that he thought was the quietest place in the U.S. The U.S. is a big country. There are probably lots of quiet places, especially out west, but he came to some place, he found a place, and he thought that that place was the quietest place that he had ever been to in the United States. No man-made noises could be heard. So we're referring there to the sound of traffic or the sound of airplanes, of people talking. flying, setting off fireworks and things like that. Those are man-made noises. So he could not hear any of that. He could hear natural noises like rivers flowing and birds singing and stuff like that. And Hempton vowed to protect this place from noise pollution. So he thought, hey, this is like a paradise on earth. It's totally quiet. I can't hear any noise from people. So I'm going to protect this place. I'm going to make it a special place.
So he was really set for this to be a good place to protect. However, before long, Navy airplanes started practicing in the skies above, and the quietest spot was quiet no more. So he was all excited. He's like, yay, I found this great spot. But before long, so after a very short amount of time, suddenly the man-made noise showed up in Navy airplanes. So you've got, Navy, Army, you've got Marines, and the Navy guys are the ones who are on the boats. So I'm guessing that he was in a place pretty close to water because the planes are taking off of the ships more than likely and going through the air. And they're practicing in the skies above, so up above you in the skies. And then the quietest spot was gone. The quietest spot was no more. It disappeared.
Yeah, I remember that about Tainan and Hualien because there are air bases near there. You do hear jets flying overhead quite frequently in those two cities. And that was the case here. He could hear those Navy airplanes or those Navy jets practicing in the skies above. So it was no longer the quietest spot in the U.S. It says here the quietest spot was quiet no more. It was no longer quiet. So with a feeling of bitterness still fresh in his mind, Hempton had a realization. So yes, he had a feeling of bitterness in his mind. Oh no, wouldn't you know, it was nice and quiet, and then those airplanes just ruined everything. Now it's all noisy, and it's no longer a paradise. I need to go someplace else. Maybe I need to go to Canada or something. So he had bitterness in his mind still, and then he had a realization, like a light bulb went off in his head. Oh wow, voila! I've got a realization. A realization means you suddenly know something. It suddenly occurs to you.
And the thing that he realized or suddenly, saw come up in his mind was that instead of trying to protect one small space or one small place, he should try to protect the whole world. To me, when I hear this, I think that's just fascinating, that one little moment of realization gives you this desire to do something for everybody in the world. And what he wants to do is he wants to protect places all around the world and try to help them not have to deal with noise pollution.
Yeah, sometimes we have realizations like we're trying to accomplish something and we keep running into dead ends, and then suddenly one day, oh, I had a realization. I should do it this way, and then I will be successful. So here he had a realization. Instead of trying to protect one small place, he wants to protect the whole world. And just a few years ago, in 2018, he used his expertise to launch something called Quiet Parks International, or QPI for short, with the aim, or with the goal, of identifying the purest natural soundscapes. So he's got this organization, this company, and the goal of this company is to find and identify, to let people know that there are these pure natural soundscapes in the world. There are places in the world that sound really great, especially because they're silent.
And he has a lot of knowledge about this whole concept of a quiet place. So he has a lot of expertise. When you have expertise, you just really have a lot of knowledge, a lot of understanding that you normally can share with people. This sentence feels a little bit like a business sentence because you have launching something. You have a very strong verb. You launch something with the aim of. It sounds like you're talking about a new business plan. We're going to launch this company with the aim of improving the world's noise pollution. You can also launch a ship. You can also launch a spaceship, but here we're talking about launching a company or starting a company. And he wants to identify, to find the purest natural soundscapes. To help protect these places, QPI encourages people to visit them to add economic leverage to its preservation efforts. So let's just see here. If you want to help those places, well, what can you do? Well, QPI wants you, they are encouraging you to go and visit these places. And that way, when you do that, you're probably paying some money to go into a park, or you're spending some money to go there, or you are donating to QPI or something like this, and that gives economic leverage.
Right. Leverage is just kind of power or some kind of force that you have. So if you have this power, you can help preserve these places if you go visit them. I guess you can make donations or pay the entrance fee or something like that. And by doing so, you're contributing to the preservation of these places. So here in the next paragraph, it says, so far, QPI has certified more than 250 exclusive spots as quiet places. So that's what they're doing. They're going around the world. They're checking out these places. And if they pass their qualifications, then they certify these places as quiet places. So here we've got the verb to certify, which means you basically confirm that something is the way it's supposed to be. You can be certified to cut people's fingernails, for example. If you want to do that as a career, you might need to be certified. You might need to have a license for that.
You can be a certified physical therapist, and that means you've gone and you've taken the tests you need to get taken, and you get certification. So that's the noun form of certify. So after you are certified, you get certification.
Indeed. And I think that brings us to the midway point in our lesson for today. So let's stop now, take a break, and listen to our beloved Chinese teacher.
Hello, everyone. 我是派老师。今天讲解的是12月份 Unit7 第2天的课程。第1天的课程里，我们了解到，虽然环保意识抬头，越来越多民众重视环境保护、生态保育，不过大家却没有真的把噪音污染当作一回事。第2天课程当中，我们看到生态专家 Hampton 老师非常努力，透过 Quiet Parks International QPI 的推动，找回宁静。我们现在一起来看看学习重点。第一段，请同学看到第一个句子。Hampton came across what he thought was the quietest place in the U.S. 请同学注意，在 came across 偶然发现后面呢，它必须由于 came across 它是个动词片语哦，而且是及物的，后面呢是需要有名词来当受词的，所以我们后面要用名词子句。从 what 一直到 in the US， 这里就是名词子句。好，表示什么？表示他所认定的全美最安静的地方。老师要请大家特别看到这个 what 的用法。举凡像我们说 what you eat, what we read, what people love， 我们其实都可以加上个所。比方说 what you eat 就是你所吃的， what we read 就是我们所读的， what people love 就是人们所喜爱的，这样子呢，我们在文意理解上就比较容易了。好，接下来老师要请同学看到第5个句子 ，With a feeling of bitterness still fresh in his mind。那我们知道说，这个 with 常常都是附加的说明，让我们了解主要子句在什么样的情况之下发生。那这里 Hampton had a realization。Hampton 到底有什么领悟呢？就是下面这一句。Instead of trying to protect one small place, he should try to protect the whole world. 就是他不要去只是试着保护一个小地方，应该要保护整个世界。接下来请同学看到第7个句子。In 2018, he used his expertise. Expertise 这个字是什么意思呢？就是他的专业，他的专业知识、专业能力。再来，请同学看到第8个句子，最后面 to add economic leverage to its preservation efforts。这里的 leverage 原本指的是杠杆作用，延伸指影响力，鼓励民众多多造访这些地点。为了呢，就是要保育行动可以增加经济的影响力。
We're going to take a short break now, but please stay tuned. We'll be right back. Okay, let's continue with our lesson. Again, we're talking about Gordon Hempton and his efforts to make the world a quieter place. So we've been talking about the fact that he's traveled around the world and he has identified these various places as having unique soundscapes or unique acoustic soundscapes. I guess that's how we described it. And of course, he wants to certify these places as being quiet places. So again, he wants to give them this kind of qualification and this identification as being quiet places. So how do people qualify for this? Well, for a place to become certified as a naturally quiet place, it must go through rigorous checks. If something's rigorous, it's difficult, it's got a lot of details, it's thorough, it's exhaustive, and you have to do a lot of stuff. So yes, you need to have rigorous training, for example, if you want to be a surgeon.
And you can also do rigorous exercise. So, for example, if you do some really hard exercises and it gets your heart rate up and you're really running or something like that, like harder stuff that really gets your cardio going, then you are doing something very rigorous. And so you can do rigorous checks, you can do rigorous exercise. QPI members study light pollution and airplane flight paths. When I heard this, I thought, wow, that's really interesting because they're looking for those perfect spots where there's no lights from cities, really, that might affect the soundscape. And there's also no flights going overhead. When you're talking about a flight path, you're talking about the path that an airplane takes from point A to point B, and that's the flight path.
Exactly. And of course, I'm from a state in the Midwestern United States, and you might think it's really quiet there. But actually, Chicago is just to the east of there. So a lot of planes fly over my home state, and they actually make some sounds there, even though they're flying quite high. So my home state cannot be considered very quiet. So that's why they're looking for these airplane flight paths, because planes make noise. And if you've got a lot of light pollution, that means you've got a lot of lighting up streets, which is where cars are, and cars make noise. So that makes sense that they would look for these things in order to determine if a place is quiet or not. And when they find somewhere with potential, when they find some place that does not have a lot of light pollution and that does not have a lot of airplane flight paths, they use Google Earth to look for other possible man-made noise sources. So yes, they've ruled out the light pollution and the airplane flight paths, and now they need to look for things that might cause noise in addition to those things, and that's where they use Google Earth.
There might be like a power tower. I don't know if that's the proper term for it.
An electric transformer or something like that?
Right, where, power is distributed from one place to another, and that has a hum. So you want to make sure there's nothing like this anywhere nearby. And so when they find those places, what do? Well, after they get a hold of Google Earth, then in collaboration with local communities and governments, QPI engineers are deployed to the location to conduct tests at each site accordingly. So these guys, when they want to certify a place, they don't just go and say, okay, here's a stamp, you're certified. They go through these rigorous checks. And what they do here is they get the engineers out there. The engineers are deployed. So when you think about an engineer being deployed, you might think also of something else that's deployed, like military troops are often deployed. That means they're sent out to a location. And here they're being deployed to the potential location where they're going to conduct their tests. And they don't go to just one place, but they go to each site accordingly. Accordingly here just means in accordance with, one after the other, and in order.
Exactly. So, for example, we need to come up with some plans and then act accordingly. We need to have the plans and then we need to act on those plans. And that's why we use the word accordingly here. So, again, they deploy the engineers and then they conduct tests to each site, for each site accordingly to the individual needs of the sites there. Now, last year, QPI awarded its first urban quiet park to none other than Yangmingshan National Park here in Taiwan. So I guess, they got the first recognition here. So that's quite an honor there. Maybe this was in the news or something like that. I'm not quite sure. This is the first time I've heard about that. But indeed, Yangmingshan is a big national park, and I could see it being a very quiet place indeed.
And it's the very first one in the world, not just in Taiwan, but in the world. This came after a 2018 research project by the Soundscape Association of Taiwan. And this is another thing that I have actually never known existed. We have a Soundscape Association of Taiwan in Taiwan. Recordings of sound characteristics and noise analyses were carried out across a number of areas around the park. So they obviously didn't just come and give the stamp and certify things. Instead, they went and listened around the park to make sure everything was okay in Yangmingshan.
Indeed. So, of course, this association went into the field with sophisticated equipment, measuring sound levels and stuff like that. And, of course, an analysis is when they gather information and then they look at it and they come to some conclusions. And analysis is singular and analyses is plural. So, of course, they did many of these analyses in the park. These were carried out across a number of areas around the park. And then they had some results. So the result of this set the stage for a commitment to the conservation of Yangmingshan's soundscape. So here we've got the phrase set the stage, which means you've made all the necessary preparations.
That's right. It's probably maybe originally from, movies and things like that or plays when you're setting a stage and getting it ready for a performance. So it just means getting everything set up for a commitment to the conservation of Yangmingshan soundscape. Conservation means the protection of, to conserve something, to keep it going, to keep it safe. And if you want to conserve something or if you want to keep it safe, then, a lot of times, like if you catch a butterfly and you want to keep it safe, you might put it in a jar with some holes in it to let it breathe and get air in, or you might just let it go. And that way you conserve its life a little while longer and you've done your conservation work. So now people can visit an abundance of special places within the park because it's been certified, because it's been recognized as an urban quiet park. Now people have an abundance of these special locations they can go and visit. So an abundance just means a lot of.
Indeed, like there's an abundance of great tasting food here in Taiwan, especially at night markets. And indeed, there are lots of places to visit in Yangmingshan National Park, like Menghuan Pond. I'm sure you're all familiar with that. You can experience a beautiful and mind-nourishing quiet place there.
So mind-nourishing is a fun way of saying this, right? A lot of times when you think of something being nourishing, you think of it being food. It's something that gives you nourishment. It gives you the nutrition that you need to make you strong and healthy. But mind-nourishing places are places that make your mind strong and healthy because you get a chance to sit and enjoy that natural quiet.
Indeed, and Menghuan Pond is just one of many places in Yangmingshan National Park, and I think there are another couple of places in Taiwan that offer quiet places as well. Now, Hampton hopes, here in the final paragraph, it says, Hampton hopes that by certifying places in every country, QPI will enable people to find natural quiet. So yes, for the good people of Taiwan, we kind of know where quiet places are that we can go to. But if you live in other countries, you can check their website to see if they've got these places that you can check out as well and kind of regain your mind as a result. And we can all regain our minds by listening to our gentle, informative Chinese teacher right now.
第二段第一个句子，请看 So far, QBI has certified more than 250 exclusive spots. 这个句子，请同学特别注意 So far 我们通常都是搭配现在完成式到目前为止。So far 后面通常都是搭配现在完成式，请同学要谨记在心。再来呢，我们请同学看到 第5个句子。第5个句子这里 Then in collaboration with local communities and governments， 请同学把 in collaboration with 画起来。Collaborate 是动词，和什么合作？ In collaboration with 那指的就是这些 QBI 的工程师会和当地的民众还有政府合作。再来，请同学看到第3段。第3段这边，请同学特别注意到，就是QPI 他们呢在阳明山其实也找到了一个所谓的都会宁静公园 Urban Quiet Park， 这里请同学特别注意。再来，请同学看到第3个句子。第3个句子，老师要跟大家说的是词语搭配，请大家注意。Recordings of sound characteristics and noise analysis were carried out。好，我们在说分析，分析要跟它搭配的动词片语是什么呢？ Analysis were carried out。我们用 carry out 这个片语，就是执行、进行分析。我们可以说 analyses were carried out。再来，请同学看到第4个句子 The result of this set the stage for a commitment to the conservation of 阳明山 soundscape。 Set the stage 这个片语请同学画起来，意思是说他们做了这些研究啊，结果怎么样呢？ Set the stage for 就是为了后面的这个名词奠定基础，打下基础，所以让后来大家都可以呢更投入，然后呢去保育阳明山的深景。再来请看第5个句子。第5个句子 Now people can visit an abundance of special places。 请同学把 an abundance of 画起来，其实就是有很多特别的地方的意思。再来有一个值得大家注意的复合形容词，在句子的最后面 My nourishing quiet place。 我们知道有一些安静的地方很好，那这些安静的地方有什么作用呢？可以滋养心灵 My nourishing。 那由于呢它是这些安静的地方可以滋养我们的心灵， These places nourish our minds， 所以我们用主动的加 ing 来形容它 My nourishing quiet place。 以上就是我们的中文讲解，谢谢大家。
That's it for today, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. And now it's time for you to turn off your device or however you're listening to this program and enjoy the silence. From all of us here at English Digest, I'm Tom.
And I'm Leah.
Goodbye.